Hello, doers. My name is Jose Ignacio, and today we're going to talk about how we can make restocking your inventory simple with suggested quantities on purchase orders. Let me set the stage for you. You run a custom furniture service for ninjas, much like Stealthy would. Business is booming, and your inventory is now depleted after a busy shopping season, much like Christmas. Children love receiving furniture for Christmas. Now, you could go through your sales history and calculate your inventory resupply and do those manually, but you're a busy children's custom furniture manufacturer. Instead of doing it yourself, let Odoo examine how your inventory changes and suggest restocking quantities for you. Here, I'm going to show you how it's done in a database. So first things first, we're going to need both our purchase application over here as well as inventory apps installed for Odoo to suggest replenishment quantities to us. The purchase app over here lets us make orders from vendors, and the inventory application lets us track and manage our inventory, as well as doing a bunch of other stuff that we don't need to get into now. So if you don't have these two apps installed over here, just open up the apps app over here and search for purchase and inventory and install those two apps, and you're going to be golden. Perfect. So a quick note before we open up the purchase application over here. The suggested quantities feature relies on your sales and inventory history. It's not meant to offer suggestions on how much stock you should carry if your business is completely new. That means you're going to need a few things configured in your database for the suggested quantities feature to work. So obviously you're going to need product records in your database to replenish your products. So let's open up our sales application over here. And we're going to click products in the header, and then once again, products in the dropdown. I'm going to show you an example of proper configuration. We're going to use acoustic block screens right here. So the products you want to use with this feature need to be configured for replenishments. That means setting their product type over here to goods and tracking over here by quantity. Now we're going to open up the purchase tab right there. And you're also going to need vendor records in your database. We can't buy replenishments if we don't have someone to buy them from. Finally, you're going to need at least one validated delivery order for the product. The system uses that data to project future replenishment needs. Okay, once you've got everything set up, let's get those suggestions. First, navigate on over back to your homepage and then go over to the purchase application. So once we're there, we need a request for quotation. Either a new one or an existing one will do. I'm going to click new in the top left over here to create one. So first we have to set the vendor. Stealthywood is running low on angular lumber-based products, so I'm going to pick wood corner. Perfect, as our vendor. So to keep things simple and let the system help us out as much as possible, I'm going to add products through the catalog, which will automatically filter for products from our chosen vendor and make the suggestion process much simpler. So we're actually going to give the catalog a click right there. All right, so here you can see every product that's associated with wood corner. There are a lot of them. It's actually quite a lot. All right, some of these we have tons of, some we use at a pretty slow rate, some are already on order, and some we're forecasted to need soon. It's a lot to track of manually, but fortunately we don't have to. So go ahead and give the suggest toggle a very quick, nice little toggle, as it's named. All right, so once you've clicked that, a couple things are going to happen. First, in this case, the products displayed in the catalog are going to be filtered to match the suggest criteria. Second, under the suggest toggle, you notice these nice little suggest criteria happen to appear. So you can edit them to filter for the exact products that you're looking for. Dang, the product catalog sure looks different now. What happened? Well, the answer is these three fields in the suggest criteria and these nice ones that we happen to have over for replenish for have changed a few different things. So the first one that we have is replenish for X days. We also have based on, and in this case, it says last 30 days, and the percentage. They determine the suggestions the system makes. Replenish for whatever amount of days up here determines how far ahead the system should buy replenishments for. 30 days, a whole quarter, a whole year. The choice is yours. This happens to max out at 999 days. Plenty of time to prepare for the future of your business. Based on down here sets, in this case, the date range of sales and inventory history that the system should use for its suggestions. You can choose specific ranges automatically suggested by the system or general ranges like the last 30 days, 3 months, this month last year, and more. You can also choose to replenish based just on inventory changes forecasted by the system. So what about the percentage? Well, the percentage determines what percentage of our sales we use for predictions. Want to use half? Set this over here to 50. Want to use all your sales? Set it to 100. Standard number stuff. You know how numbers are. So by default, Odoo suggests replenishments for the next 7 days based on our last 30 days of inventory changes. The only product we're really missing to meet the expected demand for the next week is, well, table legs. You can never have enough table legs. But I'm a big picture kind of guy. I think in quarters, not weeks and months. Watch what happens when I set the replenishment date for 120 days. So we're going to replenish for 120 days, as I just said, and based on, we're still going to do our last 30 days. And would you look at that immediately? Boom, new suggestions. One thing to note here, you can get some weird results depending on your replenish for and based combinations. Say you run a toy store and on January 1st, you tell the system to suggest replenishments for the next year based on the past 30 days. You probably sold a lot of toys in December, and the system will project that level of demand going forward for the rest of the year. So you could easily wind up with suggestions for more inventory than you actually need. Fortunately, it's easy to experiment with the suggestions. Nothing gets added to the RFQ until you click the Add All button. So let's do that. Clicking Adding All. So now all of the suggested items are now highlighted in this nice color over here, but nothing else has changed on the page. But if we click the handy dandy back to quotation button at the top here, we're going to see that each of the suggested items has been added to our quotation. All we need to do now to get things moving is simply select our Send RFQ button. How simple. As you can see, the suggested quantities feature is a great time saver. It takes the history of what you're already doing, selling products, and buying from vendors and uses that info to automate your replenishment process, saving you time and energy. Until next time, Odooers, you keep suggesting topics for videos, and I'll keep replenishing our and your YouTube feeds. I love you. Go eat a snack. I don't have any.
Hello, Odooers, and welcome back. Like all businesses, Stealthy Wood likes to spend as efficiently as possible when purchasing goods and services from our vendors. That's why we take advantage of Odoo's alternative RFQ feature. Alternative RFQs in Odoo help us select the cheapest and fastest vendors in the market by sending out a wide range of offers. Alternative RFQs can be used by organizations in the public sector to create calls for tenders. These organizations use calls for tenders to find the best purchase options since they're often legally bound when making a purchase. However, private companies also strive to achieve competitive offers, and that's why they also like to use this way of purchasing. With alternative RFQs, we invite multiple vendors to submit offers for similar goods or services all at once. When we've received all the offers, we can pick the one that works best for us, minimizing costs and increasing profitability in the most efficient manner. Sounds great, right? Let's hop into our database and see how this all works in Odoo's Purchase app. First things first, we need to make sure our database settings are configured correctly so we can create alternative RFQs. From the Purchase app dashboard, we'll click on Configuration, then down to Settings, and we want to make sure purchase agreements and purchase alternatives are enabled and saved. Great, we're all set. Okay, now with everything set up, let's create a new RFQ. To do that, we'll click on Orders and then down to Request for Quotation and then select New. For the vendor, we'll go ahead and use our most trusted supplier, which will be Wood Corner. Then we'll add some products to the product lines down here, and we'll click Add Product and add some acoustic block screens for the quantity of 10. And let's also add some office chairs for the quantity of 20. Okay, so you'll notice each of these products has a unit price based on the information from the individual product forms. Let's also see when these products are expected to be delivered. To do that, we'll click on the additional sliders option right here, and we'll tick on the expected arrivals option, and voila, we've got our expected delivery dates based on the lead times found on the product form. Now, we're ready to send this quotation and see if these rates from our vendor still hold today. For that, we'll click Send by Email, and then Send. Now, we'll also see this changes the status to RFQ sent. Now, this is where the fun begins. Let's click on the Alternatives tab, and this is where I can directly create alternatives to this RFQ to send to other vendors, as well as keep track of any alternative RFQs I have out currently. So let's click on Create an Alternative, and when I create that alternative, this pop-up appears, and from here, we'll choose another vendor, which will be Azure Interior. And we'll also untick the Copy Products option here. Selecting the Copy Products option would copy all the products from this original RFQ to our alternative RFQ, but we want to add manually all the products for this one. Next, we'll click on Create Alternatives and add what we need to Azure Interior, which will just be 10 acoustic block screens. And once again, we'll select Send by Email, and then Send. Now, when we click into the Alternatives tab, we see the current alternative RFQ we just made, as well as the original RFQ for wood corner below it. Now, while I'm waiting for an answer from my vendors, why don't I reach out to Gemini Furniture and see if they have a deal for those office chairs? To do that, we'll stay on this page and simply just click New in the upper left corner of the dashboard. And on this new RFQ, we'll choose Gemini Furniture. And we'll also add those office chairs again for the quantity of 20. One last time, we'll click on Send by Email, and then select Send. Now, when we click into the Alternatives tab, the first thing you'll notice is there are no alternatives listed here. That's because we haven't linked this RFQ to the others yet. But if we click on the Link to Existing RFQ to gather all of the offers that these products from different vendors in one place and compare them, all we have to do is select our two most recent RFQs and then select. Now that all the RFQs are linked, we're able to see all the offers on one screen for the variety of products we're looking for. Now let's click Compare Products. And this takes me to a page with all the information we sent out and got back from our other vendors. This is where we can select the best vendors for our needs. And to help make things easier for me, Odoo is automatically highlighted in green the fastest expected arrival date, the cheapest unit, and the cheapest total cost for me in the respective columns. For these products, we want to choose the cheapest and the fastest options. So let's go ahead and choose Gemini Furniture, as well as Azure Interior. Then we can go ahead and navigate back to our request for quotations via the breadcrumbs. And Azure Interior offered us the best price for acoustic block screens. So let's click on that RFQ. And now it's time to click on Confirm Order. And now a pop-up asks us if we want to keep or cancel our alternatives. In this case, we'll click on Cancel Alternatives because this is the only RFQ we need. And there we go. We just sent a purchase order to Azure Interior. Here we see the other RFQs have been canceled. All that's left now to do is wait for our vendor to deliver our products. And that's it for this video. We learned that obtaining the best prices from multiple vendors is easy with the Odoo Purchase app. To learn more, I encourage you to check out some of our other awesome purchase tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time, Odooers. Hello, Odooers, and welcome back. Today, I'll show you a quick way to order the same products from the same vendor using a purchase template. Let's talk about Healthy Foods, Stealthy Wood's sister company that sells groceries. Our store orders fresh groceries daily, but quantities can change, and sometimes we need to add a few extra products. With the purchase template, we can easily copy over the products, quantities, prices, and vendor info. Then we'll make some quick tweaks, swap out some items, and send another RFQ in no time. The template is useful for quickly placing recurring orders for items with fixed quantities. Now, enough chit chat, let me show you how to create and use purchase templates in Odoo. To set up purchase templates, we're first going to navigate to configuration and then down to settings. Here we want to make sure that the purchase agreements feature is enabled. Now, if you haven't already enabled this feature, make sure to do that and then click save before moving on. But once you do that, we're all set. Next, in order to create templates, we're going to go ahead and select orders and then down to purchase agreements. Here we'll see our blanket orders or purchase templates that we've made. Then we can go ahead and click new to create a new one. Now, the vendor field is optional, so it can be left blank for use with various different suppliers. But for this example, we're going to set our vendor field to produce. You get my pun there? Now, here's the most important step. In the agreement field, select purchase template. Now, products are required on the template, so let's go ahead and add some, such as carrot. And then we're going to go ahead and add a quantity of 25 for this template. And then let's also add some milk. And for this case, we'll just go ahead and do one. Yum, what a good breakfast. Now let's go ahead and click confirm to finish this template. And doing so, we're going to see the RFQ/order smart button here at the top. This shows all the RFQs created using this template. With the new quotation button, we can go ahead and select that and create a new RFQ using the template we just created. The product quantities and prices are copied over. And now we can go ahead and modify the quantity if we need to, and even change the price. And lastly, we can even go ahead and delete products if we'd like, and of course, add new ones. Next up, let me show you a purchase template that we've been using for a while so you can see how we keep track of all the orders we made with it. We'll go ahead and use the purchase agreements breadcrumb button, and this time we're going to select PTO1. You'll see that the RFQ/order smart button shows how many RFQs or POs we've created using this template so far. So let's click the smart button and view all of them. Some important fields to keep an eye on here is the confirmation date, and that's when a RFQ was turned into a PO. And on the far right, we also have the expected arrival date, and that's when an order is expected to arrive. It's something we set on the RFQ or PO itself. And conveniently at the bottom, we have the total dollar amount of the products ordered using this exact template. And that's how we create and use a purchase template to order products. Now, okay, Odooers, I know what you're thinking. What's the difference between purchase templates and a blanket order? The key difference is when an RFQ is created in a blanket order, the quantity is set to 0. By default, while with using a purchase template, the quantity is copied over. For more about blanket orders, check out that tutorial. But in short, a blanket order is a huge order split into several deliveries. So all the RFQs must be for the same vendor. For example, the vendor that supplies us with one particular brand of cereal says they'll be giving us a tempting discount if we buy 1,200 boxes of cereal. Now, I don't want them all delivered at the same time, or that cereal brand will be the only thing we're selling for like half a year. So I'll split up my orders into 12 deliveries and only receive 100 units every month. A purchase template, on the other hand, is for quickly placing frequent orders, especially when quantities don't have to be exact, like restocking toilet paper or coffee in the office. And since the product's quantity, price, and vendor are all copied over, it's a handy tool to quickly place RFQs. And that's it for this purchase template tutorial, party people. For more information about Odoo Purchase, feel free to check out our other tutorials, but until then, I'll see you next time.
Hello, doers. My name is Jose Ignacio. Today we are learning how to use Odoo's electronic data interchange. EDI for my acronym lovers, and I suggest you use it. This is a feature that streamlines the import of purchase orders from one Odoo database to another, converting it into a sales order. So, electronic data interchange enables businesses to exchange documents such as purchases and sales orders in a structured, standardized format, improving efficiency and accuracy. In Odoo, you can export a purchase order as an XML file from the buyer's database and import it as a sales order into the seller's Odoo database. Since the process does not require manual data entry, we are significantly reducing the risk of errors. I don't know about you, but I love any process that means less work for me. So, enough chit chat, let's get started. So there are two roles in this process, the buyer and the seller. We are going to start off in the buyer database where we actually have the purchase app all set and ready to go. Now I'm going to click new so as to create a new RFQ. So I want this to go to our favorite vendor, Joel Williams. So we're going to get started with that. Well, Joel Willis. Okay, so down here I'm going to add some products. We're going to get started right now. We're going to do our acoustic block screens. I feel like I use that one a lot. I'm going to do a couple of these just to get us some big old numbers. So I'm going to up the quantity. I also want to order some chairs, office chairs. How many should we do? Well, we're going to keep it in line. We're going to do 10 of those. Okay, so now up next, I'm going to confirm this order, which converts this RFQ into a purchase order, as we can tell now by the name, and also purchase order. So now let's switch to the seller's perspective. I actually happen to have used Joel's login over here to show you how he receives and processes the order. So Joel has portal access to our database. So this is what he sees when he logs in. Right now, we are only concerned about the Our Orders little area right here in the center. So let's click it. Okay, so this is where Joel can see all of the purchase orders that we have sent him. And here actually happens to be the one that we just created today. So let's check it out. All right. Everything looks correct right here. We have the items listed here. And as you can tell, we have 10 of each, both the acoustic block screens and the office chair. So now Joel needs to upload these to his own Odoo database so that he can fulfill this order right over, well, actually right over here on the left side, which happens to be with the connect with your software button. So when we click that, here's a pop-up telling me how I can upload the data into Odoo, including how I can drag and drop a PDF. That is also good to know. But I want to use the XML. So I just need to actually copy this URL up here and then paste it in a new tab. And as soon as I do that, it automatically downloads the XML file. We just have one less step now. All right, so I'll address the elephant in the room. Joel is an incredibly cool person. Joel happens to use dark mode. If you don't know how to do that, over here in the top right corner. Okay, so Joel just needs to upload this purchase order information into the sales app right here. So let's go into our sales application and we're going to select upload in the top left. We're going to select that file that we had just downloaded recently. And would you look at that? Just like that, I happen to have a brand new sales order. And we can also notice that we happen to have everything already imported, such as the customer field is automatically updated as well. And it tells us it's Stealthy Wood, as did the product information as well below. And we see everything over here, including the XML file in our chatter. And that is the exact file that this information came from, which is great for traceability. Now, as far as actually fulfilling this order, I'm going to leave that step to Joel. We don't want to step on his toes. I can't do everything for him. And there you have it. A sales order is automatically created with the buyer, product lines, prices, and quantities already filled in, saving time and ensuring accuracy. Thank you for watching, Odooers. Go grab a snack. Hello, doers, and welcome back. My name is Jose Ignacio. Now, at Stealthy Wood, we pride ourselves on our high quality furniture products. But how do we keep those safe? Well, to keep our products safe in transit, we're going to be using sturdy packaging and also protective foam inserts. So, we actually found a vendor that's offering an awesome bulk discount on those items, but it's for a year's supply of packaging. And let's be real, we don't need all of that at once. So, introducing blanket orders. These are long term purchase agreements with our vendors to receive products over time instead of one big shipment. So, to snag that discount without the hassle of storing a year's worth of packaging, which, don't get me wrong, is pretty hard, we're going to break our order into 3 smaller deliveries. We're going to time these with our busiest periods when customer orders will tend to peak. So, enough chit chat. Let's see how we can set up a blanket order inside of Odoo. Okay, so first up, we're actually going to need to enable the feature by going to the Purchase Apps Configuration and Settings menu over here. So in the Order section that I'm at right there, make sure that the Purchase Agreements option is ticked off. And if it isn't, be sure to tick that checkbox and then hit the Save button in the top left before moving on. It's not going to work if you don't do that. Okay, now that we're done with that, let's create a blanket purchase order for plastic packaging material by going to the Order subheading up here at the top and then select Purchase Agreements. Now we're going to select new, and then we can get started. So I want to actually skip down here to this area, this field that says agreement type. Make sure that blanket order is selected. If you select purchase template, it looks different, and that's how you'll know. So blanket order. Then after that, we're going to go back up here. We need a vendor. Let's pick Fantastic Plastic. Haven't done them before. And then let's move on over here to the agreement validity field. In here, we'll define when the discounted price and blanket order is effective. So we're actually going to set the from field over here to, in our case, January 1st, 2024. And observant doers, you've probably noticed it's not actually January right now. I know. Well, that's because blanket orders usually cover purchases spanning a length of time. You're going to see in just a moment why I had to time travel to make this blanket order start at the beginning of the year. So up next, we're going to set the end date, and this time it's going to be at the end of the year, which we're also not at yet. Perfect. Okay, we're done with that. Okay, cool. Now we're going to add the bulk, well, actually the huge bulk order for Stealthywood's entire year's worth of packaging material inside of our products section. So select add a line, and my very first one in my case is going to be EPS foam. I'm going to need, in this case, 30,000 of them. And my unit price for them is 0.25. Okay, 25 cents. And I'm going to add the rest of them using magic. Okay, now that our blanket order is all filled up with that Odoo magic, I think it's time for us to confirm this over there. And now that the blanket order is fully complete and confirmed, let's split this bulk order into 3. So let's click on, in our case, the new quotation button at the top, and a new RFQ is created using the products and prices we included in the blanket order. Here, the only thing we need to do is set a date that we'd like these items to arrive and how many we want. So since in our case, our highest volume of orders are in February, July, and December, I'm going to create 3 separate RFQs with the order deadline, which we have up here in the top, and our expected arrival date 1 month before those busy months. So I'm going to have enough packaging material to send out all of those orders in time. So for this first RFQ, I'm going to set the order deadline that we have up here at the top to January 15th, 2024, and hit apply. And then our expected arrival in this case should be 2 days after that because Amazon Prime, 2-day shipping, something like that. Okay, now once we do that, I'm going to set the quantities for the products below to, in our case, we're going to pick for the very first one, the EPS foam, 10,000, which happens to be a third. And then for the next one, if you recall, we had a very big amount of this one. So we're going to pick 1,000 because we had 3,000. And then for this very last one, we're going to have 200. Respectively, those are the thirds. And then once that we're done there, we're going to hit confirm order. And bing, bam, boom. We're done with that. Okay, so now I need to create 2 more RFQs like this. And to save you doers even more time, I'm going to do it off screen real quick. Boom. Editing magic and a time skip. So with our RFQs created, having selected our little gear icon and duplicate, and then we updated our order deadlines, we can now move on. And that's how I did it really quickly. So I'm actually going to click on our blanket orders breadcrumbs to go back over here. And we can actually see that we've used this to generate our 3 RFQs up at the top now. So when I select that smart button over here, we see an overview of all of the RFQs for this blanket order. And as you can see at the bottom of the total column, we can actually see how much that we've actually spent this year on packaging for the whole year, which is kind of amazing. So over here inside of our status column, well, I can see whether the RFQ happens to be in draft mode, happens to be sent, or it happens to be a purchase order and is confirmed in that type of situation. And we can use the expected arrival dates that we have over here on our right to keep track of when the next shipment of products will arrive. Then by clicking the blankets order breadcrumb, in our case, back over here, we can actually see something cool. Our ordered column over here has been updated, where prior it said 0. It now shows us that 1/3 of our year's packaging has arrived. That's because we happen to have confirmed only one of the 3 RFQs in the blanket order. That appears to be a problem. So now we're going to have to individually bill each purchase order in the blanket order. So I'm going to click on that RFQs/order smart button up the top center again. And then we need to select one of these unconfirmed ones. So let's start with our very first one. Okay, now I'm going to speed through our regular Odoo purchase flow since you Odooers can get the full rundown of that in our purchase basics video. So we're going to click on the word confirm order over here, then receive products, then we validate them. Okay, next I'm actually going to click on the breadcrumb to go back to the purchase order. Very simple right there. Then we're going to select create bill, then confirm that as well. And then, oh, wait, actually, I forgot about that. One small little doopsie. We need a bill date. So in the bill date field, I'm going to select today's date. And then now, when I select confirm, we're good to go. See, even Jose makes mistakes. I got ahead of myself going fast. So next up, I need to complete the payment to the vendor by clicking on register payments. And then we go through here and select create the payments. Oh my God. And would you look at that green banner right there telling us we have paid everything and the bill is paid for. So I'm going to click on our RFQs, request for quotations, breadcrumbs once again. So back on this page, I'm going to click on our little sliders icon that we have on the far right there. And we're going to make our billing status appear right there, which is kind of useful. And would you look at that? We could see our view. So up next, I'm going to quickly process the last RFQ. And then we're going to go confirm order, receive products. And then we're just going to go through that. So to close a blanket order, we just need all the RFQs to be purchase orders. They do not need to be billed yet. So now what ends up happening when I go back over here to our BOOX right there. Look at that. There you have it, Odooers. That's how you can use Odoo to place bulk orders, configure several arrival dates for them, and keep track of your vendor bills all through the Purchase app. To learn more, be sure to check out our other videos about purchase agreements or learn how to reconcile your payments. Thank you for watching. See you next time, Odooers. And as you can tell, everything is ordered. Go grab a snack.
Olá, pessoal, e bem-vindos de volta. Meu nome é José Ignósio. Hoje, vamos decidir quando pagaremos nossos fornecedores. É agora ou nunca? Não, estou brincando. Ao definir a política de controle de contas, podemos pagar os fornecedores antes ou depois do recebimento dos produtos. Na Stealthwood, enviamos nosso pagamento depois que os produtos são entregues, mas cada um faz as coisas de forma diferente. Mas se você fizer as coisas como nós, posso mostrar a você como fazer uma correspondência tripla entre o pedido de compra, a conta do fornecedor e, finalmente, os recibos, garantindo que paguemos apenas pelos produtos recebidos pelo preço acordado. Então, acho que já falamos o suficiente e vamos ver como funciona. Ok, para começar, vamos dar uma olhada na política de controle de contas selecionando configuração e definições. E, lembre-se, estamos dentro do aplicativo de compras agora. Então, vamos descer aqui. Perfeito. Dentro desta seção de faturamento para o recurso de controle de contas bem ali, vamos configurar se uma fatura do fornecedor será criada antes ou depois do recebimento dos itens solicitados. Então, selecionando as quantidades solicitadas. Vou me livrar disso bem rápido. As quantidades solicitadas ali significam que podemos criar uma fatura assim que o pedido de compra for confirmado. Hoje, teremos as quantidades recebidas selecionadas aqui. Isso significa que, quando pedimos produtos, o Odoo só nos permitirá criar uma fatura depois de recebermos pelo menos parte do pedido total. Então, agora acho que é hora de garantir que o recurso de correspondência tripla esteja habilitado. E isso acontece com P, o que é ótimo porque, se você não fez isso ou as outras coisas para este tutorial, certifique-se de cuidar disso agora e selecione salvar no canto superior esquerdo antes de prosseguir. Então, agora que terminamos as configurações da empresa, gostaria de observar que, se um ou mais produtos precisarem de uma política de controle de fatura diferente, podemos especificar a política de controle no próprio formulário do produto e substituir a política de controle de fatura da empresa também. Então, deixe-me mostrar a você. Então, vamos até produtos e selecionamos produtos novamente. E vamos selecionar uma boa e velha torta de maçã Granny Smith bem ali. Então, dentro da nossa aba de compras, selecione aqui embaixo onde diz faturas do fornecedor e política de controle. Quero que você se concentre nisso. Vamos fazer algo diferente do que antes. Vamos selecionar quantidades não solicitadas e, em seguida, salvar manualmente na parte superior. Então, em breve, veremos como esse fluxo de trabalho difere do restante das empresas. Para verificar isso, vamos até pedidos e selecionamos ordens de compra. E aqui veremos todas as ordens de compra que criamos. No topo, temos uma ordem de compra para móveis Gemini. Ela tem um status muito interessante de nada para faturar. H. É um pouco estranho. Então, vamos clicar aqui, e vemos que há um botão roxo na parte superior que diz receber produtos. Agora, vamos tentar criar uma fatura porque, lembre-se, estamos criando faturas. E, ó, seus enganadores, ainda não podemos criar uma fatura, pois não recebemos os produtos. E, como vocês devem se lembrar, a política de controle de faturas da empresa está definida para receber quantidades. Parece que a política está funcionando até agora. Então, vamos clicar em fechar. Certo. Para fazer isso corretamente, primeiro receberemos nossos produtos no canto superior esquerdo e depois validaremos validaremos isso. E quando terminarmos de fazer tudo isso, selecionaremos nossas trilhas de navegação para voltar ao nosso pedido de compra. E agora você notará que temos um botão Criar Fatura no canto superior esquerdo. Mas para ter certeza absoluta de que é hora de criar o fornecedor, vou para minha outra guia de informações aqui. E você pode dar uma olhada nisso. Em nosso campo de status de faturamento, ele está definido e diz que agora está aguardando faturas. Mas não vamos deixar a Odoo esperando. Então, vamos clicar em Criar Fatura, certo? Aqui vamos nós. Então, na fatura, vou ver onde o recurso de correspondência tripla do Odoo garante que paguemos apenas pelos itens recebidos. Vamos para a aba de outras informações aqui também. E no campo, deve ser pago. Bem, você pode dar uma olhada ali. O Odoo nos diz que, como recebemos os produtos, não podemos mais fugir. Temos que pagar ao fornecedor. Então, vamos definir as datas da fatura no nosso caso para hoje. Perfeito. E depois que terminarmos, selecionaremos confirmar. E você pode dar uma olhada nisso. Pronto. Então, o que acabei de mostrar a vocês foi a política de controle de faturas para quantidades recebidas. Vamos ver como é o fluxo de quantidade solicitada. Então, no nosso caso, vamos selecionar pedidos de compra aqui mais uma vez. E dessa vez, vamos clicar no pedido de compra do fornecedor, Health Food, certo? Então é aqui que estamos pedindo várias tortas de maçã, como você adivinhou. Agora, diferente de antes, os botões de receber produtos e criar fatura estão roxos bem ali. Então, vamos clicar em criar fatura. Desta vez, assim como antes, vou definir a data da fatura como hoje. Depois, vamos lá e confirmamos ali mesmo. Perfeito. Então, vamos selecionar o botão inteligente de compras na parte superior e voltar ao pedido de compra dentro da área de criação. Como você pode ver ali, ele nos mostra nosso pequeno campo ali. Podemos comparar as quantidades criadas com as quantidades recebidas que temos ali, que por acaso são 0. E isso é para garantir que pagamos pelo que recebemos. Então, vamos clicar em receber produtos ali mesmo e validar isso. E aí está. Acabamos de ver como o Odoo lida com a comparação de preços de faturas e como podemos garantir que estamos sempre em boas condições de pagamento com nossos fornecedores. Então, para saber mais, recomendo que você confira nossos outros tutoriais incríveis no aplicativo de compras do Odoo. Obrigado por assistir. Até a próxima. Vá pegar um lanche. Não tenho nada na minha mesa, então beba água.
Hello, doers, and welcome back. My name is Jose Ignacio, and today I'm going to be talking about Stealthywood, where we've actually recently hired a bunch of new interns to review and accept the best requests for quotations from our vendors. But because they are so new, I'm a little bit worried that they're going to squander our budget. We don't have a lot of money, so let's keep it there. So, thankfully, through Odoo, we can actually set orders to require manager validation above a certain price limit. So, using warnings allows us to display notifications while employees create orders. So, not only can we grab their attention about an issue, but we can also entirely block them from completing an order with a specific product or vendor. So, enough chit chat. Let's go be cautious inside of Stealthywood's database, and I'm going to show you how all of this works. Okay, so to use approvals in the Purchase app, we first need to go up here to our configuration menu and settings. Great, we've all seen this a lot. So inside of the order section that we have, make sure that the purchase order approval option is checked off. And then I think we should also change the minimum amount. It's a little bit high right now, and that makes me ever so anxious. So let's cut that in half, $500. So now if a user creates an RFQ that's $500 or higher, and that's the good part, it requires administrator approval. And then to lock this in, let's go ahead and hit save in the top left corner, and we're all good to go. So now I happen to be the manager of Stealthywood. I get access and permission to anything and to do anything, but the new employee can't do that. So I'm gonna once again go out of here to my main Odoo dashboard and go to my general settings. And this time around, we're gonna click on manage users. So let's go over here. All right, so we're going to change some of these user access rights. Now, once again, I'm going to change this intern's rights. We're at the profile. We'll scroll down over here to the inventory section, and you see where it says purchase? We have a nice little toggle over here. We're going to change it over to user. So with PO approvals in place, any employees with user access rights will need approval from employees with administrator access rights in order to complete a purchase. By the way, if you're an administrator, we can actually change anybody's access rights at any time. So let's make sure to manually save just in case. Now next, let's implement some warnings to our workflow to help our new employee understand certain limitations about the products and vendors, as they continue to create RFQs. So honestly, these warnings are actually super helpful for the entire Stealthywood team. I'm feeling a little bit like Odoopsies today. And it's because we tend to forget things when we're in a rush, like the name of our company. So to use warnings inside of the Purchase app, we're actually going to go inside of the Purchase app first, then go to configurations. And this time around, once again, we're going to go into settings. And here in the orders area, what do you see right there? Warnings. Make sure it's enabled. Now, warnings can be set both on products and vendors, and they come in two types: simple warnings and blocking messages. So first, let's add a simple warning to a vendor. We want employees to be notified about a specific vendor and how they are famously slow to respond to RFQs. This is important information that may prompt some of us to reconsider their vendor choice, especially if they're in a hurry to purchase something. So in our case, let's go up to the word orders. And this time around, we're going to select the word vendors. Great. Azure Interior will be selected. And then we're going to go to our internal notes tab over here. So at the very bottom in the warning section of the purchase order, we're going to select, as we already have it right now, it's going to be a warning. And then we need to notify employees. They're very sluggish. And in our case, we told them they happen to be unresponsive. Don't use if in a rush. Please use another vendor. Great. Now remember, the other option that we had was also a blocking message, but in our case, we just want a warning. And this is not going to completely prevent them from creating a purchase order. So in the text box below, we've already listed what we want. So up next, we can actually add a blocking message to a product. And let's go talk about that because I just showed it. So we want to prevent employees from making any RFQs with a specific product because we were informed that this particular item will be out of stock for several months. So let's go up to products and select products. And which item is going to be gone? We're going to select the cabinet with doors over there. So we're going to go over to the purchase tab. Okay, perfect. And at the very bottom, as you can see, warning when purchasing this product. We currently don't have anything right now. I'm going to select, in this case, a blocking message. And then, nicely so, it even remembers it because I've used this before. It happens to say not in stock until further notice, but I'm going to add to this for several months. Great. We're all done. So with the approvals and warnings configured, I think it's time for us to switch over to our interns account to see what a purchase flow looks like when all of these guards are up. Hey, what's up? I'm Iana, the intern. So I'm going to show you what happens when a new employee, like myself, creates a request for quotation that totals more than $500. So in my case, let's go into purchase, create a new RFQ, and for our vendor, we're going to use that same one, Azure Interior, right there. Look at that. We get a warning right there. Don't use if in a rush. Please use another vendor. It's that one that we set earlier. So let's actually get out of there real quick. So inside of our product section, I'm going to first trigger the block warning by adding the cabinet with the doors as well, because I showed you what happens when I do that. Boom. Once again, as you can see, we can't even order this because it's not in stock until further notice for several months. So, oh my goodness, we're going to have to trash that right there. So instead, I'm going to add 2 of my acoustic block screens in white color. And remember, I said 2. Great. I'm going to click on confirm order. And as we can see, we have an additional to approve stage over here. So this RFQ hasn't actually been changed into a PO just yet. Let's go back to the other account and let's finish this off. And I'm back, Odooers. Now, here we are inside of the Purchase app, and at the top of the list, we see our intern's newly created RFQ with a nice status of to approve over here in the far right. And if I quickly wanted to just see the ones that are in need of approval, I just go up to the search bar and select it, and then on the left-hand side under the filters area, to approve. Great, and there we have it right there. Now, let's actually approve this RFQ, so let's select it right there. And in the top left corner, you see that approve order button, click it. And just like that, the RFQ is now converted into a purchase order. And there you have it, Odooers. With the approvals and warnings, we can actually ensure our employees avoid costly mistakes. So be sure to check out our other awesome tutorial videos. Come vibe with me. Check out Odoo's Purchase app. But thank you for watching, Odooers. Go grab yourself a snack.
Welcome back, dear Odooers. At Stealthy Wood, we are constantly looking for ways to improve our efficiency. For this, automation can be a powerful ally. In fact, automating our routine tasks and our procurement process will make us more efficient and ensure a smooth purchase process. To do this, we need to set up reordering rules. These will help us decrease the amount of work related to our purchases. Based on inventory levels, the rules will be triggered when Stealthy Wood reaches the set threshold, and a request for quotation will be automatically generated by Odoo. Then, buyers simply have to confirm our purchase orders, and our inventory workers get control lists of products to receive. After this, our accountant will compare the recorded bills with the purchase orders and receipts. This way, our inventory management will be streamlined, and time-costing administrative tasks will be done automatically by Odoo. So let's dive into Stealthy Wood's database and see how reordering rules can be created. All right, here I am on my database. Now let's go ahead and add a reordering rule to one of our products. So I'm going to go to Sales, Products again, and then I'm going to search for one of my products that I've created, my desk lamp. Okay, so let's go ahead and click on our desk lamp, and then we'll be able to quickly add the reordering rule by clicking on the reordering rules smart button on the product template. So if I click here, I can go ahead and create a new one. So of course the product is going to be the product that I selected, my desk lamp. And then I can add a minimum and maximum quantity as well. So I'm going to go ahead and say my minimum quantity should be 5 and my maximum 10, because of course I always want some items on hand for this product, but I don't want too many either. Okay, so that's why I'm setting the maximum quantity as 10. Then we can choose our quantity multiple, and on the right we can select the company and also the lead time. So this can either be 1 day to purchase or 1 day to get the products. So you have a choice there. All right, so this looks good for now. So I'm going to go ahead and save this. Then we're going to jump back to the product template because there's something important we need to do here as well. So let's click on Edit and go on over to the Purchase tab. We need to add a vendor because, of course, if Odoo is automatically generating a request for quotation, they'll need to know who we want to purchase this item from. So let's go ahead and add the line. Okay, so we're going to add our vendor, Cheer Up Furniture. And then we're going to save and close up, but of course I need to add the price as well, so it's automatically added to my RFQ. It saves me some time. Then save and close and save again. Now, as you can see, I don't have any items on hand for this product, but let's see what happens when I create a quotation. So we're going to go to Orders and create. Actually, I'm creating an order, not a quotation right off the bat. And we're going to choose our customer, Brandon Freeman. And then I'm going to add that product, the desk lamp. All right, so I'm going to have him purchase 6 of this item. All right, as you can see, we have a little red eye just next to the quantity. And if I click on that, it's going to tell me that actually we don't have any items on hand for this product. But that's okay. Let's go ahead and confirm this, and then we're going to see what happens. Okay, so it's turned into a sales order, a confirmed sales order. A delivery has been created. When I click on the delivery, okay, we're going to see that it's waiting. So it's actually waiting for us to purchase the items, and we know that Odoo will automatically create the request for quotation based on our reordering rules. So let's see that now. So if we go to the Purchase tab, we're going to look for the RFQ, but we don't see it. And why is it? That's because there's actually a cron that runs once a day for your reordering rules. Okay, this happens automatically by Odoo, but it's not instant. So if we do want to have that RFQ instantly, we need to go to the product. Okay, so my desk lamp, I'm gonna go to the reordering rules. Click on the reordering rule itself and then run the scheduler. Okay, so this will trigger the reordering rule right away, immediately. So I'm going to click on run the scheduler. If I go back to my purchase dashboard, I'm then going to see the RFQ for that item. Okay, so Odoo will automatically run the scheduler once a day, but again, it's only once a day. So if you need it to happen immediately, you do need to manually run the scheduler. Okay, so let's go ahead and check out our RFQ. So It's really cool. We say our quantity is 16, and that's really nice because that means that Odoo is taking the sales order into account. We know that one of our customers wants to purchase 6 desk lamps, and our maximum quantity that we should have on hand is 10. So Odoo is considering the fact that we're going to sell 6 of the item already, and we still want to have 10 on hand. And so it generated a quantity of 16 automatically. So I didn't have to do any of that myself, which is really nice. Okay, then we can go ahead and confirm this and receive the products. Okay, we're going to validate. It will apply the items that we ordered to the done quantities. Apply. Looks good. Now, if we go back to that sales order that we created, okay, for Brandon and the delivery, if we check the availability, it's actually going to be ready now. So we're not waiting on anything anymore. We have the items in stock and we can go ahead and deliver this. So let's validate, get Brandon his desk lamps. If he's ordering 6, he must need them. And then it's done. Now, if you would like to run the scheduler, not product by product, but for all of your products in just a couple of clicks, we can do that simply by going to the inventory application. Okay, and then you're going to go to Operations Run Scheduler. Now, this will be for all of your products that have reordering rules. But again, if you just want to run the scheduler for specific products, you can do that from the product template. That's all for this video. Thank you for watching. And if I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.
Hello, Odooers, and welcome back. At Stealthy Wood, we work with a ton of suppliers to make sure we're getting the best products at the best prices. Sometimes one product has multiple suppliers, which can be tricky to keep track of. In Odoo, the vendor's price list stores product vendors' prices and deals, ensuring we correctly input prices on a request for quotation or RFQ. So let's dive into Odoo and see how we create and edit vendor price lists. We can configure a vendor price list from any Odoo app that includes the Products tab. In the Purchase app, I'll go to Products in the menu and select Products, and let's choose our cabinet with doors. On the product form, we're going to go to the Purchase tab to see the vendor price list. Here, we can see all of our vendors that supplies this product. Our first vendor, Wood Corner, lowered their price, so let's update the price to $100. It's important to note that order does matter on this list. The vendor at the top is selected by default when we use a reordering rule. We've selected Wood Corner as the default vendor because they give us the best price as long as we're willing to wait 5 days for them. The delivery lead time field tells us how long it takes for the product to arrive at the warehouse after confirming the purchase order. So if we're in a rush, we'll pay a little bit more and have our alternative vendor, ReadyMat, deliver us the stuff in 2 days. We can also configure a vendor discount on this page. To do that, I'll click Add a Line, and let's use Wood Corner as the vendor. Wood Corner offers us a bulk deal that gives us a 10% discount if we buy 10 or more cabinets. The quantity field defines the minimum amount of products for this special price to apply, so I'll set it to 10. We can do this in one of 2 ways. In the price field, we can input 90, which is the discounted price, or we can input the original price of $100, then click on the slider icon in the far right, and we'll enable the discount field. In the new field, we can add the discount of 10%. And great. With either method, we'll have the cabinets at a super special price of $90 per unit. As you can see, it's pretty easy to add product vendors one at a time. But what should you do when you have a ton of vendors to add all at once? In that case, we can use Odoo's import feature to add multiple vendors at once. To do so, let's go to the Configuration button in the menu and select Vendor Price Lists. Here, we'll see a price list for all the products in our database. Now, let's download a template spreadsheet of vendors so you Odooers can see how you're supposed to format the column names when uploading your vendor price list. To do that, I'll click on the first 3 checkboxes for the large cabinet, and then click the Action button here at the top, and then Export. We can choose Excel or CSV file formats. The fields to export on the right shows the columns that are expected to be exported in the file. After clicking the Export button, we'll get a file that looks like this, and after entering the vendor info in this exact format. After entering the vendor info in this exact format, click the cog icon in the top left corner and select Import Records. Then I'll click on Upload File and upload our vendor price list. Since we see these fields here on the right, that means all the columns and info are formatted correctly. I just need to click on the Import button now, and we're done importing. Now let's see how all of that comes together by clicking New to create a new RFQ. Let's set the vendor to wood corner and add a product and choose our cabinet with doors. Depending on the delivery lead times we set on the vendor price list, the expected arrival date is updated too. As we can see in the unit price field here, the price is automatically set to $100 like what we set on the price list. Now check this out. I'll change the quantity to 10. And then we can see that the tax excluded subtotal field here on the far right is updated to 900. That's 10 multiplied by 90. The discount we configured is automatically applied. Isn't that cool? And there you have it. Vendor price lists make it easy to keep track of suppliers' prices and discount specials. In the next video, we'll talk more, but see you next time, Odooers.
Hello, doers. My name is Jose Ignacio. Ever send a purchase order too late and find yourself wondering exactly when to send a request for quotation? We need to send that RFQ so stock shows up before we run out, but not so early that cash is tied up on a shelf. Purchase lead times are that answer. So set them up once, and Odoo will tell you the perfect day to confirm an RFQ and the day those goods should arrive at your warehouse. They automatically keep procurement on point while we meet our delivery deadlines. Vendor lead times, well, that happens to be the calendar days it takes a supplier to deliver after you confirm a PO. The security lead time is a company-wide buffer of calendar days that Odoo adds to every purchase order. That's just to offset any unexpected delays, maybe unavailable stock, shipping delays, other unforeseen issues. Life happens. So it's like when you tell your friend who's always late to arrive 30 minutes earlier than everyone else because they always get stuck in traffic. Tricked by an earlier meetup time, they arrive at the same time as everyone else. Now, days to purchase is the calendar days the vendor needs to review your RFQ before they confirm with you. Once they do, you click confirm order and the countdown begins. Now, let's see how all of this works together with the Ergo Chair. So first, the vendor lead time is 7 days, which is the typical transit time from Gemini Furniture to our warehouse. Next, we have a 2-day purchase security lead time, which is a buffer for any unforeseen issues or delays. And lastly, the days to purchase lead time is 1 day, which gives them a full business day to check their email, determine whether they have stock, and confirm that they can get the product to me. Together, these 3 lead times give Odoo a 10-day planning window. Now, when using reordering rules, Odoo will remind you to order 10 days before the quantity is expected to drop below the minimum. All right. That was a lot of background information, so let's dive right into the database to set that up. So first, here we are inside of the inventory application. We're going to select products up in the top heading and then products once again. Pick that Ergo chair that we talked about. Now we're going to make our way over to the purchase tab. So in the vendor price list, we have our default vendor, which happens to be Gemini Furniture. We've set the delivery lead time that we happen to have over here to 7 days. That's actually the vendor lead time. I know we should be consistent, but that's just a little doopsie. All right, on to the next lead time. So we're going to go over to configuration and settings this time around. We're going to scroll down until we see the word advanced over here so that we know we're at the right place. Advanced scheduling. There we go. Now you want to make sure this little checkbox next to security lead time for purchase is checked. Now we want this field over here to say 2 days. Next over here is days to purchase, which we want set to 1 day. Now, if you're setting this up for the first time, Odooers, remember to hit save in the top left corner. It's always a very good tip. So with our lead time set up, let's go to the replenishment report to check what we need to order today. Well, in this case, a reorder. So let's do that by going to operations over here. And this time we're going to select replenishment down at the bottom. So this is where Odoo uses manual reordering rules to notify us that things need to be ordered. For more about setting up reordering rules, check out that tutorial link below. So here we have our ergonomic chair line. We see that we have 0 on hand. And in the minimum column that we have over here, well, we should have at least 3 in stock. let's click on our nice little eye icon that we have right there. Okay, so the blue highlighted forecasted date is the sum of all my purchase lead times listed above. Odoo checks to make sure that we have enough to fulfill orders from today to the forecasted date, and the reordering rules work to replenish that. For a deep dive on what all of this means, just for your procurement, check out our just-in-time logic video, also linked below. All right, let's click. In our case, I think it's time for us to just close out of this, and we're going to select order. Why? Well, because we're here. Now we see an RFQ was created, as you saw from our nice little link. I could click that link, but it's also disappeared. So we're going to go out of here and I'm going to show you the way to do this if it also disappeared on you. Now we're in the purchase application. And look at that. Right here, the most recent RFQ for Gemini Furniture. So on the RFQ, you notice we have an order deadline, and that happens to be tomorrow. That's the days to purchase at work. When an RFQ is created, the order deadline is the day the RFQ was created, plus the days to purchase. And our expected arrival date is 7 days after the order deadline, which is 8 total days from today. So to send the RFQ to the vendor, we're going to click send by email over here. Now, once you do that, Odoo starts to prep us with a compositional email. We'll review that the email is very, very nice. We'll review the actual template, and then we're just going to hit send over here. Perfect. Once that sends on over, we see in the chatter, all the vendor has to do when they receive the email is click accept right there. We make it easy. Now let's pretend to be the vendor for a second. They'll receive this email and open up the portal view. They'll see that we need 10 chairs, expecting it on the receipt date. And all they have to do is click the accept button on the left side. And then once that the vendor accepts, we got our nice confirmation over here. The RFQ has been acknowledged by Gemini Furniture. Thank you, Odoo bot. All right, with that acceptance, let's confirm our order over here. Now you'll notice the expected arrival date remains 8 days from today, even though our lead time is 7. That's because we confirmed the RFQ 1 day before its order deadline. Odoo retains the original arrival date. The result is that the supplier has 8 days to ship it to us. They ship sooner, we get everything sooner. So let's click our receipt smart button up at the top center over here. All right, this shows us at this point that the warehouse is expecting the shipment from Gemini Furniture on or before our scheduled date over here. This transfer is linked to our purchase order, as you can see over here, for our source documents. So the purchasing team, can stay in sync with the warehouse team. Finally, I'm going to click validate over there. Now, once that I did that, well, guess what? The deadline turned into effective date that we have over here, showing us the difference between the scheduled date of arrival versus the date we actually received the item. And there you have it. That's the convenience of purchase lead times. Once you've told Odoo how long suppliers and logistics really take, the system schedules everything for you. No spreadsheets, no guessing, no stockouts. Thanks for watching, Odooers. Remember, you're doing great. Grab a snack. I don't have one once again. I need to get more. See you next time. Hello, doers. My name is Jose Ignacio. Imagine this. You're a fast-growing furniture company like Stealthywood. Orders are booming. Customer demand is at an all-time high. And your warehouse, well, it's humming. But with so many new orders coming in, your procurement team is starting to feel the strain. Keeping up with the vendors' pricing and delivery timelines, it's becoming a real challenge. But the growth comes with new headaches. Multiple vendors with inconsistent pricing, unclear delivery times, no standardized way to track who ordered what, when, and how much. If your procurement process lives in email, spreadsheets, and sticky notes, it's pretty easy to lose control. And you miss critical lead times or overpay for products. That's why we use the Odoo Purchase app. Let's actually take a look at how it helps solve these challenges by managing vendor relationships and streamlining orders using requests for quotations, or RFQs for my acronym lovers. So enough chit chat, let's hop right into Odoo. So from the Purchase app dashboard, we can see an overview of our RFQs and purchase orders. So the larger boxes up at the top that are colored over here, well, that's all the RFQs in the database and their respective status. The smaller boxes below them are RFQs assigned to me. Let's not talk about my late ones. Let's actually create a new RFQ. So we are getting ready for a big showroom launch at Stealthywood, and we need more of our top-selling teak wood tables. Clicking new up at the top allows me to create a new RFQ. So we've already talked to our vendor, Azure Interior, about the upcoming sale. And all those past conversations, pricing agreements, and vendor details are neatly tracked within Odoo. So they know when to expect those big orders. Let's type them in over here for our vendor. There we go. Perfect. So in the past, we may have had to send spreadsheets back and forth, compare prices, and hope that everything arrived on time. Now everything is tracked in one place. I'm going to set our order deadline for that reason to 1 week from today. Good old July. Perfect. We're going to click away and we're ready to go. We need this fast. So on the products tab that we have right here, I'm going to add the product. So we're going to select the word add a product, and I'm going to select, what did I say, the teakwood table. And now you'll notice that the quantity defaults to 1 and the unit price is 125 freedom units or USD. This is a great time to test Odoo's vendor rules. We have an agreement with Azure Interior where if we order 15 or more of these tables, we get a nice discount. So when I update the quantity over here to 15, Odoo magically, it just happened right there. The unit price decreases to $100 each. You can learn more about vendor price lists, including how to set quantity-based pricing and manage supplier agreements by checking out the tutorial linked in the description. Now, in our talks with Azure, they recommended a new product for our showroom, this teakwood lamp. We should order a few with this shipment just to see what it looks like with a table. So we're going to select add a product and teakwood lamp. Hold the phone. I just realized that doesn't exist here. Well, that's no problem. We're actually going to type that in and then select create and edit. Perfect. Now we can get started on this nice pop-up. All right, so inside of here, the cost for each of these lamps is $30. That is all I'm going to need to update for now because it's the only thing we care about. Okay, now I'm just going to hit save on that and boom, it exists now. Let's take 10 of them. All right, perfect. That should be enough to stock our showroom, at least for the first few days. Now it's time to send the order to Azure and get these products shipped to us. So up here, I'm going to click on Send RFQ. Doing so generates a compose email pop-up that is very well timely appeared for me right there. And it's a nice pre-written email, which is a nice time save. I can edit the email if I'd like, such as just putting this. I don't know why. And once that I need to and everything is done, we can personalize it, add notes for ourselves, and then once we're done with everything, we can get started. All right, so once it's ready to go, we select send. Perfect. Now we could see the record of the email inside of the chatter over here, and the status has changed to RFQ sent. As a side note, we also have this print button over here up at the top. So if any of our vendors work on an in-person basis, we can grab a PDF version. Fortunately for us, we just had to wait for Azure Interior to approve this RFQ. So once that the vendor confirms with us that they can honor our request by the order deadline, I can click confirm order. And once that we're done with that, it is now turned into a purchase order. So at this point, I have a new receipt smart button over here up at the top. Now let's actually click into there. All right. So inside of here in our operations tab, we can actually confirm that the demand and quantity are the same. So that means I can validate up at the top, which confirms that our shipment has arrived and our inventory has been updated. Now, once we do that, we just have to wait and see if the new lamp is as popular as the matching table. And there you have it, folks. Odoo's RFQ workflow turns what used to be email chains and spreadsheets into one clickable pipeline. Request, confirm, receive, and update inventory in real time. Thanks for watching. Be sure to check out our other purchase tutorials, linked below. Until next time, Odooers, go grab a snack. I have immune lozenges because I'm getting sick. Hey Odooers, my name is Jose Ignacio. Today we're diving into a powerful feature inside of Odoo's Purchase app, vendor bill matching. This tool simplifies the process of managing bills by matching them directly to purchase orders and receipts, eliminating that manual data entry and reducing the risk of mismatched or even missing information between departments. It's especially useful if your company handles recurring orders. Say you buy a shipment of wooden panels on a weekly basis. With bill matching, you can batch these purchases and keep your payments accurate and timely. This saves time, reduces errors, and it keeps your books looking clean. So, enough chit chat, let's hop right in and see how it works. First, let's activate bill matching. This is only available in databases with both the Purchase app as well as the Accounting app. So make sure you have both of those downloaded first. So to activate bill matching, we're going to go into the accounting application, select configuration, and then settings. Okay, perfect. Let's scroll down until we reach vendor bills. There we are. Now you see this little box right next to predict vendor bill product? Check that off. Then when you're done, make sure you hit save. This is a very special feature which helps auto-suggest products on incoming vendor bills based on past purchases. Now that we're done with this, we've also connected our purchase and accounting modules, so we're set up for that seamless integration. All right, let's actually make sure our vendor setup is complete by opening, go out of here, our purchase application. We're going to select orders and then vendors. Which do we choose? Well, I'm going to select Gemini Furniture. We actually have a recurring order with Gemini Furniture for a special product, so we want to make sure that we have our payment terms all squared away with them. This is important because it automates due date calculations on vendor bills, helps us stay compliant with payment schedules, and streamlining our accounting workflow. So over here, as you can actually see in the sales and purchase tab, I can set specifics for this vendor, like a dedicated salesperson. Maybe I want that to be me. We can also do payment terms, but for now, I just want to leave this right now at the 30 days. This ensures that the due date on their vendor bills is automatically calculated. So now that this is already settled for us, let's create a new RFQ. So we're going to click up on orders and request for quotation. And that's because I need a new RFQ for the wood panels. That's our special product. So we're actually going to order that right now. So we're going to select new. And what did I say we wanted? We're starting with the vendor. Now, if you recall, I said Gemini Furniture. Perfect. All right, now that we have that done, if I also confirm, by the way, just to confirm, we're going to go into other info and look at that. We have our payment terms right there, just like we wanted. Let's go back to products. So in the products tab, I'm actually going to select add a product. And now, my small little doopsie, this is where we put our wooden panels. And our quantity, I'm going to get rid of that decimal point. And we're ready. We want 100 of them. While we are placing an order, I am also going to add another product and select. What do we want? Let's get storage boxes. This is a good and popular product, and I always like to have these on hand. So I'm going to pick another round number that I like. We're going to select 20. Perfect. Okay, this looks good to me, so send the RFQ. Boom, there we go. And then once that it's done there, we're going to select send on our nice little email pop-up. Now, once that we have confirmation from Gemini, I can confirm the order. Now, this converts the RFQ into a purchase order and reserves inventory based on what's available. And I just got word from our team that over at the warehouse that the products have arrived. So let's actually select receive up at the top, validation. And we're done right there because the team already confirmed everything looks good on their end. Okay, so now we have actually completed the RFQ. We've also converted it to a purchase order, received the products, and validated the shipment. Now, the real magic happens, bill matching. Let's use the breadcrumbs to head back over to our purchase order right there. And right here at the top of the purchase order, I see a new smart button, bill matching. Let's check that out. All right, Odoo shows all the received purchase order lines you can include in the bill. If there's a mismatch, for example, if fewer products were delivered than ordered, these lines won't be available for matching until the discrepancy is resolved, so remember that. You can select multiple lines, and you can even aggregate them into a single bill. I'm going to tick the checkboxes over here for both of them right there. And then I'm going to select match. Boom. Accounts are auto-filled based on the PO and receipts. No manual entry is needed. Once everything looks right, we look at this and click confirm and post the bill. We can even take care of payment right now by clicking on pay. Of course, if you're managing cash flow or you're waiting for final approval, you might choose to delay payment until closer to the bill's due date. I am going to actually, I think it's time for me to do that right now. I'm going to select pay right there. I'm going to select the journal for now as bank. And for the payment method over here, I have a couple of options. I have manual, checks, and NACHA, or National Automated Clearinghouse Association. Yeah, I prefer the acronym for that one as well, which is compatible to send over to a company's bank. So for more information on this process, make sure to check out the documentation that's linked below. But for now, let's stick with the manual payment that we have right there. And this all looks good, so I can just create a payment. All right. Odoo now marks the bill as in payment in a nice green banner, and the transaction can be reconciled with your bank statement. Nice and easy, right? We created an RFQ, confirmed it into a purchase order, received the goods, matched the bill with the receipt, and processed the payment, all in just a few clicks. With vendor bill matching, Odoo takes the guesswork out of vendor payments, ensuring everything lines up with what you ordered, what you received, and what you're paying for. This means fewer errors, faster reconciliation, and cleaner books, especially helpful when you're managing recurring purchases like weekly supply orders. Thanks for watching, and as always, happy outdoing. And if no one's told you this today, you're doing great.